part of a bigger kind of message I'm putting together. But this one, it's really hard to explain. I've been having these thoughts and kind of, I wouldn't call them revelations, but just putting pieces together that I never have before. But the difficult part is translating them into a message and then getting them out clearly. So I'm just going to segment it up in different messages to kind of build a point, build my case, and then hopefully toward the end, it can all come together to kind of get what I'm wanting to say across. So last time we talked about information dominance. So what do we do with information dominance? That's number one, that's step one. So we talked a little bit about how to, when you find something or you read something, how do you know if it's true or not in a world of just fake information stuff? So tonight we're going to talk about a little bit further, kind of the step two to that. But from last time, we asked the question, what is truth? So what is truth? Nobody remembers. Okay, good. What is truth? So truth originally is the quality or state of being true. It just means something that is true. Truth is the word that's actually its own root word. It just means it's something that actually did happen no matter what anybody says about it. It's something that is happening no matter what anybody says about it. That's the thing about the truth. It doesn't change no matter what, because it's the truth. So lie. What is a lie? Last time I had the definition of lying down because I screenshotted the wrong part. But now we have one, an intentionally false statement would be the Google answer. Or to tell a lie or to get oneself into or out of a situation by lying would be to tell a lie. What's your lie?
A lie is something that is not true.
A lie is something that is not true. That's the best answer. Just something that is not true. So truth biblically. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So Jesus is saying, I am the truth. And what did God say he was? In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Word in that case meaning Logos, Logos meaning the truth, the logic, the order, the thing that's set in rhythm of all of it. Then Jesus said to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. It's a Jesus statement, not a Martin Luther King statement. He stole it. But he stole it from the best. I do it too. So, lies biblically. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. So if there's no truth in him, and Jesus is the truth, and the truth is ultimately the best thing, and so it's going to set you free, then the counter to this, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. He is what's not true. So in a world of information, with things being true and not true, it's a little bit more intense than that. It's what is Jesus, God, Logos, what is true and falls under that side. And then you have what is false, what is a lie, what is fake, what is under that side. So truth today, biblically, but it applies in the sense of today. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. The truth isn't popular for some reason. That's unfortunate because it's the truth. So if it's unpopular, the truth is just unpopular. Oh well, you can believe the lies, but that doesn't make it them the truth just because you believe them. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? There's a lot of people nowadays who are kind of getting their redemption because they were called conspiracy theorists. No, you don't know the truth. You don't know what you're talking about. And now that it's all coming true, people are like, oh, dang, I don't even know what the truth is. But there were false prophets also among the people, as is today, even as there shall be false teachers among you who privily shall bring in damnable heresies. Doesn't mean a little white lies. No, damnable, go to hell forever, heresies, ultimate acts against God, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of the truth, Jesus, logic, order, truth, what is right, will be evil spoken of. So it's not just not believing the truth anymore. It's not liking or hating the truth. But again, the truth is the truth. It doesn't change just because you like it or don't like it. So because you don't like it or because it seems weird, people will think you're weird. And it happened biblically as well. And as he thus spake for himself, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, thou art beside thyself. Much learning doth make thee mad. You've learned too much, you're too smart, that now you're crazy. And he said, I am not mad, most noble Festus, but speak forth the words of truth and soberness. So because you say the truth, people will think you're mad. People will think you're crazy, especially now, especially in today's world. But then we get to Pilate. Pilate's kind of had a really good answer or thought about all of this. Pilate therefore said it to him, art thou a king then? He's just a guy, he kind of probably heard of Jesus a little bit, knew the Jews in the area, Herod, the king of the Jews that was of the area, knew probably a lot about their customs and stuff, but ultimately wasn't around it, hadn't been born and brought up in it, probably didn't know all the old scriptures and all of that. So he asked Jesus, art thou a king then? And Jesus answered, thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Shall bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth heareth my voice. And Pilate saith unto him, what is truth? So here Pilate was, knowing this guy's innocent, knowing he hadn't done a whole lot that was wrong, knowing he had no reason to be killed, but everybody's sitting there saying, yes, he does. He has reason. He has done wrong. He deserves to be killed. So Pilate's like, I don't even, like, what is truth then? You guys obviously know the truth, but you don't believe it or buy it, so I'm forced to act upon other things. So what is the truth even? And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews and said unto them, I find in him no fault at all. Again, he still tried to get the truth out there. Ultimately, it didn't work, and he had plenty of warnings and chances. So what is truth? That was the kind of the main point of the last message. What is truth? How to look at something and kind of tell if it's, or kind of research it and how to research it to find if it is truth, find if it is a lie. So now we get into days a little bit further. What's going to happen to these? Why these exist? And kind of a little bit more on how to determine what is truth and what is not. And I will use a parable in a way that has probably not been used a whole lot, but it applies the same way. Wheat and tares. So wheat. There's a lot of different kinds of wheat. Who in here likes wheat? Who in here likes bread? Who likes that pizza? Who likes cereal? Who likes oatmeal? Who likes all that stuff? They're all forms in different ways of wheat, right? You would not believe everything that's made of wheat. Things you would never think of has wheat in it or made of it. So wheat grows in the field. No one ever sees it in this state. They used to. Massive fields, like all the Midwest is of it. The combines come, cut it all down, right? Then they separate the wheat or thresh it out. That wheat gets processed into either the rolls or the wheat berries, I think you would call them, into flour. And the flour makes the bread and all the other delicious stuff that you eat. And then that goes into the supermarkets. Pretty easy process of wheat, right? Just all the way up to the top and you get to eat it. It's wheat. It's good for you. It's what it's there for. Stuff your face with it. And your animals' faces with it. Well, what about tares? We're not too familiar with tares. Why would it be bad? Or why are tares considered to be bad?
They're false wheat.
Kind of false wheat. They look like wheat. And that's a very important part of this. It's not like separate the wheat from the, from the horses. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between wheat and a horse, right? But this is called a tare. It looks exactly like wheat up until it's on like perfectly ready. Then you can tell the difference, and even still it looks quite a bit like wheat. Why does it look like that? Why does it mimic wheat? Kind of spoiling next Wednesday's message a little bit, but
Well, it has the form of it.
so plants have this weird natural thing about them where they can mimic stuff. And they do that, why? To survive. So tares, you won't find tares hardly anywhere outside of wheat fields or around wheat. Why? They do that to mimic wheat so they can survive and produce their seeds and their offspring and stuff. People think that plants aren't like alive and symbiotic and all that, but they have crazy ways of staying alive and doing this stuff. And they look exactly like wheat. So that would be pretty bad if you had a wheat field, right? That's tares when they grow up. So until that point, you can't really tell the difference. And even when they're ready to be harvested, kind of look a little bit like wheat. You hold one wheat right beside of one, you can kind of see it, but you got to walk kind of right up to it to get that.
And you got to know what you're looking at to begin
And
with.
you have to know, like, I don't know if I could go out in any wheat field and just pick out wheats and tares. But people who've been around it for a while, people who've studied it, people who've researched, now they can walk by and easily tell tares from wheat. So what does that tell you about staying in it and doing it and all the other stuff? The more you're familiar with it, the more you're familiar with the lies, and the more you study the lies, the easier it is to separate the truth and the lies from this. And tares were also bad because if you aren't good at that, you are poisoned. If you eat tares or make flour with some tares, you get really, really sick, and sometimes it could even be deadly. Don't believe me? You can look up this article I looked up about it, because I just thought that they didn't make good flour, it didn't taste good, but no, they were actually deadly and poisonous. So if you eat it, and that's why that is the separation from that. So they grow together in the same field, lies and the truth. There are lies and truth all around us. And you have to go through and pick out the different ones. Some will kill you, some won't if you eat them. So the parable. What parable am I even talking about when I'm saying all this? It comes in two places, but one, I'll use Matthew. Matthew 13, 24, 30. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven. So not earth, not everything like this, but pay attention to the similarities there. The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. Sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So he was kind of a jerk. He was coming in to mess up and do his wheat field. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, this not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? Like, tares are everywhere. Why are you telling the truth, but now there are all these lies out there? Where are these lies coming from? Who put all these lies out there? You're telling the truth. Why is it now being twisted? Why are other things happening now? Why even put out the lies that are being put out? How do we tell the difference? What do we do? You want us to go kill everybody and cut it out? He said unto them, an enemy hath done this. Doesn't say a friend, or doesn't say, oh, it's just how it goes. No, he said, an enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. So when they're younger, before they're matured, before they're ready to be harvested, they grow really close and stuff together. And if you want to go out and declare war on the tares, unfortunately there's going to be some side effects. Some wheat's going to fall. If you're in the military, it's a part of war. You're going to kill some of your own guys. Like every war does. It's called fratricide. It's like the number one most horrible thing that can happen. But it happened, and it's called a byproduct of war. Something no one likes to talk about, but it happens all the time. Because it's just chaos. But he said, Nay, lest while you gather the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, not second, but first, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So why would he not gather the wheat and leave the tares? Why gather the tares first?
So that way they're not able to re-sow.
That way they can't be re-sown. And what else? In a sea of truth, it's easy to spot the thing that's not supposed to be there.
Valid point.
Easier, yeah. So while they get there and they see all these things growing in it at the time of wheat, imagine you're in like a tiller for a garden. You don't just go down the row and cut up your plants and everything too. You go around them to get the weeds. You don't wait and get those or grow the plants where there are no weeds because it's just going to come there. So first, get the tares, because it's easier to pick out the lies than it is to just only find all the truth, if that makes sense. So the application of that. In the meantime, this is from Luke, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trode upon one another. So there's a big crowd of people. He began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. So the hypocrisy is one thing you can consider a tare. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. So same thing with the tares. There's no tare growing that will not eventually reveal itself as a tare. There is no wheat growing that eventually will grow in secret and not be picked and threshed and eaten. So what is truth? How can we tell the difference between the wheats and the tares? Using a little bit of what we did last week, you can check the dates and do all that. But some things you don't know. You're hearing 4 different things about it. How do I know which one it is? Is it a wheat? Is it a tare? It gets kind of hard to differentiate. So let's go to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and depend on them to keep us safe and tell us which are the wheat and which are the tares. Sound like a good idea? Why? They're the Homeland Security. They're here to keep us secure in our homeland. It's right in the name. So anybody heard of the Ministry of Truth? Like we're Hogwarts or something? I'm not advocating going and watching Harry Potter, but they had a Ministry of Truth, and it came in one episode and like kind of ruined and wrecked everything. So they had to tear down the government, even hidden messages and Harry Potter stuff. But the U.S. creates Ministry of Truth, ran by a cold warrior who smears independent media as Russian disinformation. She ran a campaign on everything that was against her and her party. It was just the Russians. Kind of sounds like the Russians did back in the day, right? They had a Ministry of Truth too, except for if they didn't like you, they just killed you. And they can't do that yet in America because we still have guns and stuff, but we'll get to all that point later. Anyway, so this is, what's the date? April 29th, 2022. So this was just came about. And the Department of Homeland Security tried to establish a Ministry of Truth. They called it the Disinformation Board. So the Department of Homeland Security suspended the work of a panel focused on the subject of disinformation. The group had provoked accusations of government overreach. You don't say. Some people are like, I don't think you guys are the ones to be doing this. And I don't even think you should be doing this. And you aren't going to do this. We're not going to support this one. And so the Disinformation Governance Board was debunked and disbanded. It lasted about 3 weeks. 3 weeks after it was made. And you know how it was taken down? They blamed it on disinformation. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. I wish I was up there telling comedy. But she was like, because of disinformation that was put out against us, we have to disband the board against disinformation. Awesome board you were. It's like the board of keeping people safe had to be disbanded because they all got killed. Well, glad you were the ones keeping us safe then. What about the fact checkers? Let's just trust the fact checkers.
Oh, yeah.
It's an app on your phone. You don't even have to put it on there. It just comes on there now. You can look at anything and it'll just tell you right there on the screen if it's true or not. Should you just believe it?
No.
Why? They're fact checkers, Gary. These people are check the facts for you. Why would you not believe fact checkers? Because you don't know if it's truth or lie. Who are these fact checkers?
Yeah, really.
So we got some people in different ones. This is some Facebook and Instagram. You get false information, and then you don't even get to see it first unless you choose to see it. Why would that be an option?
So not really wanting to hide it from you.
They want to know if you want it hid from you or not. So when you hit, that's okay, I want to see the photo. They're like, oh, this guy's going to look anyway. This guy's going to do it anyway.
This person that don't want the wool pulled over their eyes.
Yeah.
This person that wants to
It's
know
pretty-
what's going on.
I don't know if you guys remember this or not. They had on January 6th, I think they had a thing outside of the White House. It might not be January 6th, but it was like a patriot party. Like, let's protest the White House, and maybe it was like on the anniversary of George Floyd or something. But I'm talking, they were just like, oh, bring your Trump support and bring all your guns. Let's all do that. And everybody's like, dude, this is the most obvious trap I've ever seen in my life. So some people went anyway and showed cameras, and like everybody there was a cop, like trying to dress like a frat boy and stuff. They got pictures of it everywhere. Like, this was a bait, wasn't it, to get everybody in there? These are the same people that are posting all this stuff and producing these on their channels and streams like Facebook and Instagram and all of that. What about this one? If you even mention it, that pops up. Why? Because they have to control the narrative about it. Because the truth came out pretty quick on everybody on that one. Like, maybe billions of people aren't dying or gonna die. Maybe we should live normally. I don't know if you know this or not, but the airplanes just lifted the mask mandate, and it's crazy how COVID's not going around like crazy before, like it was and all that. I'm not saying COVID's not real. I'm pretty sure I had it. I got pretty sick and all that, but I didn't stop my life because of it, like they were trying to make everybody do to control the narrative. So there's a lot of swinging and a lot of missing going on. But have you ever heard of a feint punch? Like in boxing, you act like you're going to throw a punch, but you're not really going to, so that somebody reacts. We are getting feint punched to death from both sides right now. So keep your eyes peeled, because something else is coming. So fact check. Fact checkers falsely claim that they are fact checkers. Who do I believe in this situation? The ones calling the fact checkers false? Or the fact checkers who are calling themselves true? Or the fact checker who fact checked this? What are we supposed to do with this? See, some of them are hard. Like, you look at this, you're like, what in the world? That's meant to literally make you read in a circle. It's the whole purpose of something like that. But beware of false experts. Because I promise these fact checkers aren't the kind of people you want to be taking advice from and doing all that. I think it's all bots now anyway. It's probably all controlled and stuff like that. So you can't put your trust in something just because somebody else that you don't even know or some weird government agency validates it as true. It's just not how it works. It's not going to happen. If that was true, the Ministry of Truth would be going rampant and have all the support. But it didn't last 3 weeks because everybody's like, listen, you blew it. We don't trust you guys that much anymore for that kind of stuff. Which is good, but at the same time, if I'm on their side, I would do something exactly like that. Just because I get to control the downfall of that myself. Now I can come up with Trump's Make America Great Ministry of Truth, and everybody be like, yeah, there'll be the real ones. Ran by the same people. Ran by the same side. They're just going to come and lie to you and do all that anyway. I mean, you got to see through all this stuff, and that's what I'm trying to kind of get point across from here. So another big one coming up. This is one we can actively look at and kind of see. Food supply chain. I don't know why I put a picture of COVID behind it, but it's a government website. Food supply chain. So will there be food shortages? I'm sure we've all heard about the food shortages that are supposed to be coming. Talked about it a little bit Wednesday before last. But if you pull out your phone and you just type in groceries, you're going to get food shortage news messages pop up everywhere. Which is, for one, it's like it might be a warning, but for two, you're like, I typed in groceries. Why are you throwing food shortages in my face on everything like that? So there are currently, this is from the government website, there are currently no nationwide food shortages, although in some cases the inventory of certain foods at your grocery store might be temporarily low before stores can restock. So that can be a little bit true, because if you look outside of all the shipping ports all around America and everywhere, they're backed up for months, not because they can't get the food, not because the stuff doesn't exist, but it's just like a slow hold on things. For one, they say they don't have enough truck drivers. You work in the truck driving industry, you probably know all about that stuff going on.
This topic right here is very near and dear to me. I can speak to it quite a bit. When they started adjusting regulations and changing things on how they operate, For one, like right now, yet again, they're pushing for government speed limits in trucks. They're actually pushing for 60-mile-an-hour trucks on the road. All right, you realize I run 69 miles an hour. That is my max speed. Does that mean I always run that speed? No. But my max speed is 69 miles an hour, and on a good day where all I do is drive on big roads, I have no slowdowns, nothing. This is perfectly smooth. Everything runs just tip-top shape. About 600 miles is the max I'm going to make. You cut me down to 60 miles an hour, and you immediately see 200 miles right off of it.
So you take one truck driver,
Yep.
200 miles a day off of him from some silly little government regulation rule, probably to keep people safe or something, whatever they want to discover
That's
it
exactly
as,
what they're saying.
or disguise it as. And now you apply that to, I don't even know, 50,000 truck drivers in America, somewhere around that?
Probably a little bit more north.
A little more. So like 50 to 100, we'll say.
Yeah.
And you just cut like 20% of all product being delivered off of that. But why? And is that even actually happening? Because the government said that it's not, right, on their side. Then we go to some weird dudes named Tyler, so that must be pretty cool. But on June 1st, so that is today, I don't know if you guys know this or not, at 4:20 p.m., in its effort to contain inflation, the Federal Reserve has launched what many expect to be an ongoing series of interest rate increases. Hooray, that's all we need right now, right? Which are already taking a toll on stock and housing markets, with job losses likely to follow. That's from today, so it's not meaning to happen yet. As we Americans have become from paying record high gas prices and grocery prices, however, another round of price hikes is making its way through the food supply chain. Hooray! That's awesome, right? Because we all need what to survive, like food, fuel, stuff like that. And it's expected to reach consumers this fall. Don't worry, it's already here. You don't have to wait till fall. And people don't realize what's fixing to hit them, said Texas farmer Lynn Bugsy Allen. So why would we take advice from a farmer about this?
Because that's the dude that's producing our food.
Because that's the dude who's growing the wheat and all of that.
I mean, if I'm gonna trust somebody, it's going to be the person that's making it. Sorry, you know.
Right. So there's a kind of a cool little thing to follow here. Yeah, the farmer's name's Lynn. You gotta trust that dude. The 8.8% increase in food prices that Americans have already seen. 8.8%. What did he say if he has to slow down 8 miles per hour? Take off like 200 miles. You just increased food by 8.8%, almost 9%. What do you think that's going to do to the prices of it? What does that mean? It sounds like low. Oh, it's only 8%. Okay, increase gas 8%.
If you look at it right now, last time I put fuel in my semi. I do. It's diesel, obviously.
Oof, even worse.
240 gallons is what I can hold. All right. I put 60 gallons. 60 gallons is all I put in. That 60 gallons was over $400.
60 gallons of diesel is over $400 now.
And you know the companies, they're not going to take a loss there. They're not going to do it. They're going to pass that expense off to the customer. That's exactly how that works. That's how all these prices are going up. And it's ultimately, if we push more money going up towards the chains, that's more money that can disappear.
Yeah, can kind of go away easily, and that's kind of how it's working. But to go on what this dude said, this is because farmers, I mean, this is like identical. I don't know if he was reading this or not, but this is because farmers pay their cost up front. So now if it costs more to produce and harvest and transport their wheat, you have to look at all that. The wheat farmers are going to say, look, we're not going to take the loss, so we're not going to buy that wheat for what it's for nearly as much as we paid for it last year. You know how high gas prices are? So we'll give you 50 cents a pound instead of the 90 cents to $1 a pound. So what's the farmer going to do? He can't afford to grow more of it. He's like, well, if I can only get this much, I got to spend my gas and my money on it. And boom, you have a hyperinflated market because he's not going to grow it because he can't afford to. They don't have the shipping and all that because they don't want to afford to. And that all falls to you because you have to pay for it. So if you want it, there's a limited supply now, and it's marked way, 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 way up.
It's called artificial inflation and demand.
Hyperinflation at this point.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Artificial hyperinflation.
You're right.
So usually what we see on the farm, and this is important, the consumer doesn't see for another 18 months, said John Chester, a Tennessee farmer of corn, wheat, and soybeans. But with the severity of these cost increase, consumers could feel the effects much sooner, particularly if weather becomes a factor. So, a North Carolina farmer who raises hogs and grows corn, soybeans, and sweet potatoes said the spike in fuel cost has put her farm into the red this year. Nothing that consumers are paying is going to bridge the gap for farmers right now. So even if they are paying all these marked increased prices for bacon, pork, any of their food, it's not going to help because it never makes it back down to the farmer to give them the incentive to grow back next year. If it costs you money to farm all year long, you're not going to farm.
Nope.
This is what it is.
It's a hard back-breaking work right there.
So the prices now have not hit the grocery stores yet, even after the 8.8%, but she expects they will start to by the end of summer. Much of the cost of food hinges on the price of oil. So you get to this other post. Conditions today are worse than those experienced in 2007, 2008. I was younger then, didn't really care that much, but I'm sure a lot of y'all remember how bad 2008 was. It is important to note that the lowest grain inventory levels the world has ever seen are now occurring. All right, let me read that again. It is important to note that the lowest grain inventory levels the world has ever seen are now occurring while access to fertilizers is highly constrained. Anybody keeping up this war in Ukraine? What all's being blown up right now?
Farms.
Farms and fertilizer plants. What good is that doing in the effort against the other nation and all of that? So they are now occurring while access to fertilizer is highly constrained, and drought in wheat growing regions around the world is most extreme it's been in over 20 years. Similar inventory concerns also apply to corn and other grains. The government estimates are not adding up. Imagine that. The government says, no, we're fine. Peace. Peace. And then sudden destruction come upon them. That's kind of what we're looking at here. But which is true? What is true? What about the housing market? These are just some people I don't even know. He's got a cool name, but even still, I don't know him. I've tricked myself a few times. So what about housing markets? Well, Samish Mortgage says that a housing market crash is unlikely according to experts. So right now you're seeing all this weird real estate stuff going on. You know, people paying $230,000 for a trailer on a quarter-acre lot when half the trailer's roof is tarp. Weird things like that. You're like, this isn't adding up because it's not worth that. Even houses, people are paying $400,000 for 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath houses. And you're like, how are they affording this? Oh, well, they're from up north and they can come down to afford that. Yeah, but don't you see what that's doing and what that's causing? And why are they coming from up there? Because their housing went up to $800,000, $900,000. And it all trickles down that way. But they say it's okay, it's not going to happen, according to experts. This is one house in Morristown I looked up today. I'll show you how to read this chart. I sent this to Mom. She didn't send it back. She probably didn't know. So this green line is the house price. The red line is the core logic or the estimate of what the house is worth. You follow it through 2020, it's pretty flat. Goes up in 2021, there's a little spike in the COVID era. Then it dropped flat again. Now we're back up to almost record prices. $80,000, $110,000, so we're right around $100,000 for this house, right? Estimated in value. They were asking the green line around 75-ish. That was last month. Today, they're asking $18,000. Whereas last month, they were asking almost $80,000. That's a drop in, I don't know how much percent that is. But you see all this property, the market's finally correcting itself because it couldn't go on forever because you're building it on absolute thin air. You're saying this house is worth all this, and it's not. So now people are buying these $400,000 houses, and then boom, overnight, they're now worth $250,000, but they're still paying $400,000 for it. So what happens to the market of that other $200,000? it's basically they're paying for thin air. They're paying for nothing. It has no value to back it. That is called hyperinflation in the real estate industry. You're paying $400,000 for something now worth $230,000. So $170,000 worth of value basically disappeared. $170,000 gone. You're paying that for nothing. That is why the Bible is severely against interest rates, and they call it usury. That's like the ultimate usury. And the entire economy pretty much is built off of real estate. We're the only country that really does it this way, but very volatile. So out of all this weird stuff, there's a weird guy up here telling you things are going crazy. There's some things that say it's not, other things that say it's going crazy. What are you to believe? So many different faces, so many different things coming out from all that. These are the ones you can't just look at and be like, oh, that's false because I put the pieces together. These have a lot of big moving pieces. You can kind of feel is true. A lot of it seems true. Other things seems not. So how do you tell? You wait. You wait. When they heard that, they were cut to the heart. Take this guy. I just did this in Acts and it reminded me of it. So when they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them. They didn't like getting told that they were wrong by Peter when he was talking and kind of, going against the church. Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. And said unto them, Ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rode up Thaddeus, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain. And all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. So some dude came up, but fell. After this man rose up, Judas of Galilee in the days of taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. There's our Homeland Security Truth Ministry. It came up, but there was no truth, so it went away. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel of this work be of men, it will come to naught. If it's true, it'll come, it'll happen. Just plan, prepare, and be ready. But if it be of God, you cannot overthrow it, lest haply you be found even to fight against God. So the truth is the truth no matter how you look at it. And if all this is true, then it's going to happen. You might as well just prepare, get ready for it. But if all these are lies, if they're tares, they're not going to happen. They're just put out there to scare you and get everybody all weird and all of that. So you got to wait and watch. Go back to the parable of the wheat and tares. Why did they not go and take the tares out right away? Because you can pull out some wheat with it. So what did he command them to do regarding the wheats and tares? To wait. Just let it grow first. Let it grow until it finally comes to itself, and then it'll be easy to tell the difference between the two, or easier. So wait, watch, and the tares will reveal themselves. And then we'll know what to harvest and what to cut and throw into the fire. Because if you wait and watch, like all lies, there's nothing hidden that won't be revealed. The tares will reveal themselves. And that is it for tonight's short message, kind of a bridge message between now and next week a little bit, but had to be done anyway.
Very good. It's kind of like the conversation that we had the other night, me and Aaron.